got Finals MVP because he held LeBron and terrible shooting. And it's like, bro, that's not true. I don't know why. Like,
I know it was part of it because
lit them up.
I think it was similar to Iggy too. Like
my fault, not to cut you. Iggy, like, he held LeBron in terrible shooting, even though LeBron's numbers were still crazy. LeBron was shooting like 30-something%. Versus Kawhi, he shot 50%, and I think like 40 from three. Like, it was problem was Wade and Bosh couldn't do nothing because Wade was old. But yeah, like, what he wanted the same way Iggy technically wanted off the strength of guarding LeBron, and they won.
Yeah. Not to mention he had 20. I think for the series. Realized my dad gonna do-rag.
Oh, do-rag off. Now he's serious.
Now we good.
What's up, everybody? It's your favorite show, Get a Bucket. I'm your host, Train, as usual. Hope you're all having a wonderful, wonderful day. And you see, we got my guy, Freddie. Freddie, what's good with you, man?
Hey, man, listen. Playoff time is coming around, all right? Yesterday, my Knicks just pulled off a win. I think Jalen Brunson is making a case to be an MVP candidacy in place of somebody, but we ain't got to go there, man. I'm a happy guy today. That's pretty much what I'm saying.
That's so crazy. Look, Freddie, I'm gonna be sleep on it, okay? I'm gonna be sleep on it. That's right. That's right. We lost, but I still represent my boys. You know how we do. It's the Blue Devils, ladies and gentlemen. It's the Blue Devils.
My condolences.
Hey, it's whatever. We still got that ring. You see, we ready at all times. But look, Freddie, my Blue Devils are not in the tournament no more. But that is a nice segue into March Madness Championship Tournament. Look, should there be a championship tournament? Like, we got a tournament in football, right? So I'm thinking one game for March Madness. Yes, there is that appeal. There is that allure to the game. But when it comes down to crunch time, though, should we get a tournament for the championship game, like a 3-game series, something like that? What's your take on that?
Selfishly, I would like it because it's just more basketball, a little bit more suspense there, right? A little bit more time for storylines. But I don't think they can do it. So I think that's the first step to college basketball becoming like an amateur league. They're already starting to pay players. They're starting to bring in, so I think that's them kind of moving away from that traditional. We like that one game that, that you got to come and bring it. That, that's the biggest part about college basketball. I think if they lose that, it takes away that from college basketball.
I mean, I do hear that. I just think sometimes, like you said, selfishly, I would want to see more basketball in the day. So if I'm watching, I don't know, let's say my Blue Devils, and we lose game 1, but I know we lost to an inferior team, I need us to get that redemption, like last season, for example. Like, you know what I mean? When we lost, oh my God, what if that was a series? Like, and I know it's not a championship game, but I'm just thinking from that point, it's selfish, like you said, it's selfish. But yeah, I think you would have to cut back a week or so of the regular season. Like, you might have to shift something up. It would be tough. But like you said too, I think that was a good point to mention. They are becoming professionals. Like, they are professionals to me. Like, we might be able to treat them like such. Like, we got WNBA letting go of 1-game series. Why not college basketball? I'm just saying, let us have something, people. Let us have something.
By the way, I love the fact that they really can change that.
Yeah, no, it was a good time. It was a good time. Now, my next question, because we're gonna move off of college basketball, because this doesn't really pertain to this as much, right? Oops, wrong one. Advanced analytics. You have a bone to pick with the stats heads, and when I say stats heads, ladies and gentlemen, that's just the people who only watch the stats. Okay, now sometimes he tries to say that I'm a stat head and I'm not. I watch stats and I watch the game. I think somewhere the truth is in the middle. But your issue, Freddie, with analytics, like advanced analytics, what just highlight that real quick.
Yeah, and you could apply it to both football and basketball. I think the majority of the people that make these advanced stats up are people who have not been on the football field or on the basketball court, and it's their way of them finding out how to have an imprint on a sport that they otherwise wouldn't really have an imprint on. We don't need that to figure out who's good, who's not, right? Like, you look at a guy like Michael Vick or Lamar Jackson who wins an MVP versus a super efficient Tom Brady type of guy. It's like, if you let those guys tell it, oh, these guys aren't winning guys, right? Lamar Jackson almost wasn't even an NFL quarterback because of those type of analytics, so to speak. They could always be misleading. I just don't like them in the game because it takes away from who's good, who's not, right? Look at a guy like Allen Iverson back in his day, never was efficient. Antoine Walker never was efficient. Kobe realistically wasn't too efficient, but the numbers won't tell you why, right? If you watch the game, you'll see he's been triple teamed to double teamed, and he's still putting up 44% from the field. Like, that's good over a triple team and double team. So, and now I think it's just starting to. It used to not leak into awards and controlling who's the best, and now I feel like it's starting to leak over into the awards and creating narratives that this player is better than this player because of an analytic that was created. I just think realistically, there's no place for it in sports when you talk about the all-time greats. I don't think that's how you should be judging the all-time greats. I think championships, how far you get in your playoff runs, really breaks down who those guys are and who can do more with less.
I hear that. I think championships do tell stories. I think sometimes, though, those accolades don't really highlight, like, for example, like, don't really tell the full tale. Like, in 20 years from now, I can say, hey, Adam Morris is the champion. You know what I mean? Like, did that really tell the whole context? So I think when you throw that advanced analytics, I think sometimes they can be misleading, but I also think that's because people don't necessarily understand, one, something like an MVP does not mean you're the better player or you're the best player in the league. It just means for your situation, you were deemed more valuable to your team than somebody else. Like, if I look at CJ McCollum and I look at Jaylen Brown, okay, well, CJ McCollum could be more valuable than Jaylen Brown because when Zion and BI's out, which is a lot of the time, CJ is the head honcho. JB's behind JT. So, I mean, technically speaking, you could have more value with CJ, but the better player is JB. So, I think a lot of the time people don't understand what these awards really mean. And I think that's what causes a lot of the problems with advanced analytics. But I do hear your issue, too, because there are a lot of people who will try to say Jokic is the best player in the game of basketball, or like Jokic is the most complete player in the game of basketball. And I'm like,
then like, forget that defense even matters.
Yeah, I'm gonna say there's an offensive and defensive side. You're thinking offensively complete, which again, there are things that I've seen players can do that Jokic can't. So you're talking about complete? I don't know about that. So I will give you that. Sometimes people do take that a little too far. But again, that's just because they don't understand really what some of these awards are. So I do hear your trepidation on that.
That's a big problem. Yep.
Yeah. Now I got this one for you though. All right, I got this one for you because talked about college, talked about people, studying folks, and they've been studying folks for like a while now, right? So we got the youngins. Let's say you a top prospect, top 5, right? I saw this for Gilbert Arenas. I'm not trying to take credit, so I'm gonna cite my sources. But there was a question that was asked. You're a top prospect, top 5. Where are you gonna go? You're gonna go to the G League? Are you gonna go to college? Or are you gonna go to overtime? And you are guaranteed the same pay, either situation.
I think it just depends on the person, man. Like, I mean, it's super tough because now you have players like, I'm a big Brandon Miller fan, right? Mm-hmm. Got the guy, the big 6'9" guy, super talented. I forget if he was a 4 or 5-star guy coming out of high school, but he's arguably the best player in the nation right now. And he's gonna get money naturally off of likability, right? But he also knows no matter where he goes, he's going to be in the league next year. In that space, it's like, okay, I know I'm going to get paid. I know I'm only going to be playing 1 year wherever I go. Do I want to go and win a national championship, experience college for a year, add that to my resume? Do I want to go to the G League and play with some of these other guys? Scoot Henderson's down there, some talent down there right now. Do I want to go, like I said, overtime? What do I want to do? I think somebody who at that level, best chance to really add to their resume is going to get that national championship, right? I think that increases their shine, so to speak, right? Their resume. Overtime, are you going to be guaranteed to win one there, right? Are my eyes really there? National championship, the most eyes are going to be right there. G League, to be honest, we don't know who's leading the G League in scoring right now. I don't. So I would definitely, if I'm that caliber guy, I'm going college, winning a national championship, and just shoring up my chances of becoming that number one pick.
I hear that. I think so. Like Gilbert Arenas made a statement about he would not choose college because at college is talking about the environment, right? And that's where you can get into the most trouble, if you will. So I do factor that in. End of the day, we're talking about kids. They're dumbasses, right? So I think in terms of preparation for the league, that's my primary focus. College, I got to worry about school. I'm talking about top 5, like you said. I know I'm going to the league next year, so do I really want to care about school? Women are going to be there regardless. So I don't really care to go to college for women. I'd go because, okay, I really want an education. But if I know I'm going to the league after next season, I'm going to consider the G League because I've seen people like Jalen Green, Jonathan Kuminga come in. Yeah, Jonathan Kuminga's not doing what we'd want to see from him right now. But I think that's also because of his situation, the system that he's in. He's trying to learn a nice little tricky system, at least it seems like over there. And for young guys, I've heard it's difficult. So I think in terms of preparation wise, I would prefer to go to the G League because again, I'm going up against grown men who are NBA ready. I'm getting better prepared, I'm assuming, and I have a better chance of not getting into dumb stuff because I'm not around college kids my age who are trying to get into dumb stuff also. Like I'm gonna limit my surroundings. So I mean I
understand that too. Yeah. Now for me, I've seen enough one and done players come in and immediately have an impact on the team. So I'm just taking years and years of, you know what I'm saying? Like I said, since Coach Kyle came in and kind of just started running the whole entire system program of one and dones, like the majority of those guys we don't hear anything about. Now there's always going to be the one or two, you know what I'm saying? But for the most part, a lot of these guys are still coming in. One, you can still, and I brought up specifically Brandon Miller because he's one of those guys. You get what I'm saying? Like to where you can go in, still maintain who you were coming into college, still perform at a high level, be on the national stage. G League games, I mean, you got to really go and search to find them G League games. Like I have to search to find Scoot Henderson highlights. You know what I'm saying? Like we didn't forget about them, mind you, but we got to go and find them. They aren't just on TV.
Yeah, that
is going to be on TV for the rest of the tournament, and they have been for the year. So just always having those eyes, but you got to keep your head on straight, like you said.
Right. Yeah. No, that visibility factor, I know that definitely factors in. Plus, you get a fandom base from the college factor, especially if you produce. I mean, I do get that too. It's tricky. It's definitely a tricky game. Like, yeah. So now, speaking of tricky, right? We've had injuries before. Ben Simmons, is he done? Like we're talking about, and I've been on record for saying this brother is a jump shot away from being the best player in the NBA, and I stand 10 toes down on that statement. I don't know what to tell you because again, that man, 6'10", mobile like that, can pass, defend, and is that aggressive when he was healthy and had the mental space. So, do you think he's done now? Because he has that back issue, and that back issue can get a little tricky sometimes.
So,
like he played
decently because ability. He's a strong guy. He has a great build. He's young. His game isn't above the realm, even though, like I said, he is athletic. He isn't super above the realm, though. So he doesn't necessarily need that. He's a high IQ guy. Great anticipation. So he can still be fine. I think where it gets tricky is that he doesn't necessarily have a jump shot, right? So he does need that athleticism, that first step a little bit, right? But we look at some of the guys in history, the T-Max, Stoudemire had a little bit of that. Larry Bird had a lot of that. Larry Johnson had a lot of that. None of those guys were really able to fully overcome that. with his limited offensive ability, I don't know if he can ever be the Ben Simmons we've seen from a couple years ago. But do I think he continues his NBA career? I believe so. We've seen guys come back, right? Lonzo, we just found out is going to be out maybe for next year as well, and hopefully he gets back on the court as well.
Right.
Clay missed some time, KD. So we've seen guys come back after being out for a while, and he's young enough. So I'm praying his career isn't over, but I think as the guy we know, I mean, he's come off the bench a couple times since KD's been, or since the KD and Kyrie stuff is going on.
Yeah.
I think Ben Simmons is over, but I think his career isn't over.
Okay. It's tough. Like, I love to be team optimist. And I saw flashes of him returning, right, this season, and then I saw him miss time because of the back, and I'm like, this might be ongoing. Like, he's young, so you do think he can overcome it, but again, I also sometimes look at it like, damn, he's young. Like, we're experiencing this now. Like, I remember when I was younger, so like my mom would be like, "Oh, you don't want to have back problems when you're young," and I'm like, I gotta get that. And then my friends in PT are telling me about back problems. I'm like, all right, yeah, like back problems are nothing to scoff at. So that he's having that at this age, and like you say, he's not skilled like KD or Clay.
Right.
So his return is predicated on his physicality, and you need to be physical you need your back in order to be physical. So it's gonna be tough. I'm gonna give him one more season for me to stay on the bandwagon, but that's really just hope and optimism. So I mean,
your back is about like 90% of your body, bro. It's like you need your back.
It connects a lot. It's very critical. It's very critical. But yeah, I hope. I wish the best for Buddy. I really do.
Sure.
I don't know if he can support a team, but he is very critical to.
Quick question for you. Yeah. Do you think the Nets will buy him out?
That's so tough because I mean, who are you gonna get? Because I mean, you buy him out, it's still on your books. I'd rather just keep him and see what happens. Like maybe he returns to form next season. I don't want. I'd rather if he has one more year on his contract, then maybe. But outside of that, I'd keep him to see what happens because I'd rather have him than no talent. The brother can still give me 6, 6, and 6. Like that's better than most bench players. That's better than some starters. Like so, I gotta keep him. I gotta keep him. But that's tough. That's tough. He's a future star, or at least was a future star. Speaking of was future stars, I gotta ask you about this though, Freddie, because this is coming into question, right? The Memphis Grizzlies expectations. Now we did have Ja Morant and his 3 to 4 issues in the span of one season. Matter of fact, 2 of them were like within the span of 4 days. All right, July 22nd to July 26th. Like I don't even want to talk about the issues, right? Just what are your expectations of the Grizzlies going forward? Like, do you expect them to trade Ja Morant? Because I mean, all the way back to last season, they've been winning with and without Ja Morant. And then this season, they've been winning with and without. Matter of fact, technically, they were losing with Ja. Still did not have Steven Adams. Then Ja's gone. Lose Brandon Clark, and they're winning. So, like, should you trade Ja Morant? Is that an expectation of the Memphis Grizzlies? Because again, he is an eyesore right now, technically.
Hey, it's too bad Reese ain't out here to hear this, but listen, Boston could offer Memphis Jason Tatum for Ja Morant, and Memphis will tell them, hell no. You're not getting rid of Ja Morant, man. Listen, he's a superstar, one of the premier players in the league. He's shown that he can show up big in playoffs. He's changed that whole culture around in Memphis. His teammates love him. He's just going through a tough stretch. But we've seen superstars in the past go through tough stretches off the court, and their organization stand behind them. So I think he'll be fine. He just got to get out of this super thug phase that he's going through, and he'll be fine. But Memphis ain't getting rid of Ja. Ja is way too valuable. You see Nike's even stand behind him, right? They're saying, I forget what their statement was they came out with, but Memphis needs Ja. Ja needs Memphis. It's a marriage that right now they're having a rough stretch, but they'll get through and they're going to be great for years to come. So you can't.
I feel like
that.
I feel like keep him, but at the same time, I would also entertain the possibility. I would look at the trades like that were offered, because, like you said, John Morant is a superstar. I also view him as a high risk superstar too. The way his game is, he is injury prone too. So I mean, I've seen players like D Rose. So maybe you can sell while the stock's really high and get a huge haul.
Let me ask you, and get what though? Like, what type of trade package would you think would be? Because you said injury prone. I think that's kind of in today's league. I think he's fine. Today's league, he's not Mikal Bridges who plays every day, every game, But I think he plays enough every single season to where his impact is felt, and I don't think the chemistry is lost. You know what I'm saying? But what would you trade him for?
I would, if I'm looking at Ja, I'm thinking a wing because you have Triple J, and maybe a backup center just because Steven Adams is not going to be there all the time, right? I'm not. I need what is it? Santini, whatever his name is,
Santi,
Alderman. Like he cool, but I mean he's not a backup big where I need him to protect the rim. He seems more like the opposite.
I think Xavier Tillman's been playing tough. I mean I think he's about 6'8" maybe, but
yeah, I'm about to say I think he's a little undersized for me. Like him and Brandon Clark gonna be around the same height. You do get Brandon Clark back, but now I'm wondering what Brandon Clark looks like too off the injury. So I'm thinking maybe those two pieces. Because I like Tyus Jones as a point guard.
I love
you know what I mean? So hey,
Tyus and Trey, man.
Talk to me. That's him. This is his.
Love him, Joe.
So I think they can let him go, but I don't necessarily believe you trade Ja Morant for anything like a Jason Tatum type. Like I need a really strong package in order to let go of Ja Morant. So I mean, I would entertain it, but I'm not looking to trade Ja Morant. But let me ask you this though.
I was just going to say one quick thing. The only reason why my mind hasn't even gone there yet is because it's not the organizational situation. The organization still loves him, that chemistry there. So once that becomes fractured, I think that's going to open up more conversations for that. But right now, it seems like they're all good with him still.
Okay, I got you. I'm going to put him on spot here because he came in a little late. Byron, are you back?
Yeah, what's going on, fellas?
Big dog.
Not much, man. Not much. How's everything with you?
Good. How about yourself?
Pretty good. Can't complain, man. Can't complain. We're looking to hear a little controversy, so I'm glad you participated. We got through most of the quick takes, and we about to hit the NFL portion in a little bit. But right now, we're talking about the Memphis Grizzlies and the expectations. Real quick, what's your thoughts? Since I know you're the same person who said Chris Webber's a bum. Should the Memphis Grizzlies trade Ja Morant? Or look to trade Ja Morant?
That's perfect. Yeah, like I said, man, appreciate being here. Things like that. Should they trade Ja Morant?
Yeah.
No. Absolutely not. I think Ja Morant is a young player. Very young, super young, talented guy. I think he's just around the wrong people. I don't think he's necessarily a bad person. I think his outside influences have kind of matriculated themselves onto the scene. Do you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. We can hear you.
Okay, yeah.
You're on the island right now. You got it.
Oh, okay, yeah. So I think his outside resources or people have kind of matriculated themselves around him. It's interesting though because it comes up this year. After he starts, gets a shoe contract, gets the money. This all happens, and I'm sure this has been happening for at least a year or so. So I'm curious to kind of see how all this kind of unfolded itself, and also what else that we don't know that the team know and that the NBA knows. So I wouldn't trade him. I think he's doing the right thing by getting help by taking the time away. So I wouldn't trade him.
I do question if I appreciate him getting help. I do question if 8 days or 8 games is enough time to get enough help. Like that, it does seem like a little rush. I can understand, you got a job, but you need to get your help first. Let me ask y'all this really quickly, and then we'll move on to another topic. Does this make Desmond Bane and Jaren Jackson Jr. the leaders of the Memphis Grizzlies?
It's crazy because you know how I feel about this player. But right now, what I've been seeing since all of this controversy, I've been down on him. His numbers were down for a while this year. And in the face of controversy, this guy has seemed to have stepped his game up, been more vocal. Dylan Brooks, again, I've been tough on this guy. I still think Bane is currently their best player. I think he's that non-vocal leader, right, by demonstration. But I think Dylan Brooks, just being that defensive presence, still holding on that. He takes on that Memphis grit and grind type of, Tony Allen type of, what I'm saying, energy with the offense. So his increase in play and just efficiency on both sides of the court, I think, has been what has helped them thrive in the absence of Ja Morant. So, I mean, as far as leadership, I'll give it to, Brooks and Bane as their two guys, one vocal, the other by demonstration, right? But then I think ultimately we just talked about Tyus before Byron got on, man. Tyus Jones as that somewhat, I'm not going to say veteran, but he poses as a veteran leader, floor general. I think that matters as well, that they have that. If they had a young 2-year hyper point guard like a Bones Highland or somebody like that, I don't think it would work. But since they have a guy like Tyus back there who really can control the game, right, slow things down, get people into their sets, not do too much, right? I think that's really helping them, as it did last year in absence of Ja Morant.
Okay.
So to answer your question, let me give Dylan Brooks the most credit for stepping up his leadership. But I think ultimately they have a bunch of guys on that team that are showing leadership in different ways.
Okay. Byron, do you have anything else to add to that statement? Do you differ? Is it the same, or you're on mute right now?
I think Ja Morant is still the leader. Not because he's the most talented player on their team. I just think he has the most influence in a way. And I feel like him making his mistakes early on could be detrimental or could be really advantageous to the team. I mean, I think, if he's able to kind of alleviate some of his external things, like with the gun and strip club and punching kids, stuff like that, like, I think for him, he made a mistake, but I don't think mistakes define people. And, it's kind of not what happens, but how you respond to it. So I think for him, I want to see how he responds to this adversity, because I think it can really not only help the Memphis Grizzlies, but also help the NBA as a whole, because he is very influential, and he is a leader. So I think he's still the leader. He's not physically there on the court, but, from the reports, they say that he's still FaceTiming guys and talking to guys. So he seems like he's still involved. So I would say he's still the leader. I would say so.
Okay. It's weird because I like on teams you can have 3 captains, stuff like that. Dylan Brooks, sometimes I question should he be the leader. I like Desmond Bane as a leader because he does come off more mature than the other guys. With Triple J, I can't give him the leadership, bro. He was just the first person that came to mind. You know what I'm saying? Like the most talented on the team now, maybe since Jaws off. And technically, like it's interesting. I do like the Tyus part as a leader as well. I do understand why you say Ja Morant should be the leader also. I'm kind of glad he's going through an ordeal now, getting out of the way, like maturing him up a little bit. Hopefully he takes this a lot more seriously, and maybe that also translates to a game too. So I mean, that's what I'm looking forward to see, just the growth from it. If he doesn't grow from this, both outside of the court and on the court, I think for me, I can't, as electrifying as Ja is, I wouldn't want him on my team personally. Again, if you can't grow from this situation, that means you don't really want it. You don't understand what's at stake. So,
yeah, how old is Ja right now? About what, 23, 20? He's younger than Tatum.
I think.
Yes, I mean he's still young. Yeah, he's still young. He may still make a couple mistakes here. As long as he's not making the same mistakes early on, you know what I'm saying? He's a super young kid. Come from, I'm not gonna say nothing, but come from an environment, right, to where he's finally out of that. But how quickly do you grow out of that, right? They say the average man matures at the age of 35. he's growing up right in front of the eyes of everyone, right, on the national stage. A lot handed to him at once. So again, my biggest thing is don't make the same mistake over and over again. But at some point, you got to stop making mistakes. You got 9 figures on the line. You got a whole family and a bunch of others that who are dependent on you to be your best self. But it kind of goes to what Byron said. You got to have the right people around you that can help you make those better decisions as well. And I think starting with your father, and I don't think his father is a bad guy at all, or is even misleading him, excuse me. But I think that's going to be the guy that's closest to his heirloom. You know, hey, yo, check yourself here, and let me give you some game here. So, but I think Josh going to be all right. I don't think you'll have a repeat of, oh, man, he's in this now, he's in that. So.
Yeah, and I just to comment on what Freddie said, if you don't mind, Trey. I would say you kind of seen this coming though. If you look at the Memphis Grizzlies kind of identity, if you will, right? They're trying to be this bad boy, this forget everybody else, F everybody else mindset. In reality, you see how, his interactions with Shannon Sharp or interactions with different, individuals in the crowd, with even with John Morant, how he's interacting with fans. I'm not saying these fans aren't doing things outrageous, but you can kind of see itself really where we kind of ignored it. We're like, oh, okay, that's just their persona. But in reality, they feed off of that. Like they feed off of Ja's.
It carries them.
Like they feed off of that. So
going back to Iguodala.
What do you think?
Yeah,
I wonder if that's going to change the team in terms of like the energy, what they're going to look like now. It's almost like a new acquisition in a sense, and it's crazy because he's been up there for a minute now. It's wild. Speaking of new acquisitions, though, fellas, I gotta ask y'all this, right? Y'all both like football. The Miami Dolphins. You know what I mean? Like they just got Jalen Ramsey. Like if you notice, Byron left because he played wide receiver. As soon as I said Jalen Ramsey, he ain't want no parts of Jalen Ramsey. That's how crazy Jalen Ramsey is. Oh my God, that's wild. Woo! Listen,
hey man, I shut the shades behind me. I shut the shades behind me.
Listen. Are the Dolphins, like, I understand we don't know all the acquisitions left in the NFL, right? A lot of things can happen. But they got arguably the best wide receivers and the best cornerbacks. Like, I mean, are the Dolphins the team to beat right now for the next season? Byron, I'm going to start it off with you.
Yeah, man. Hey, man. I love J. Ram is the only corner who I said I would never want to go against every day. I love J. Ram. I think he's physical, talented. I think it's a good acquisition. He had a bad year. He had a down year last year. He did. He got it over a lot of times, whether that could be the pass rush problem or him, kind of, jeopardizing or jumping routes, basically. I think the Dolphins could be the team to beat in the AFC, in the NFL, but you still got the Chiefs. So you still got Mahomes in the AFC. If you don't go through Mahomes, it doesn't matter. They should easily win the AFC. Was it the AFC East? Is the Jets?
Yes.
The Dolphins. They should easily win the AFC East. For the question, I think the Bills are falling apart. So I think the Dolphins, as long as their quarterback play is decent, you don't need anything extreme. They need decent play from Tua or whoever else is in that round. Because you had 2 guys over 1,000 yards last year with Tua missing what? How many games did he miss last year? 7?
About 4 games. 4
yeah, I was thinking 5 straight.
He started about like 13 games, but he didn't.
Yeah, so he missed numerous games, and you have Waddle and you have Tyreek Hill well over 1,000 yards. You got David Howard and J. Ram on the back end. It's a passing league, so they have what you need in the back end for offense and defense to be successful. But it's going to come down to that quarterback play. It's going to come down to the pass rush and how well they maintain the turnover margin and putting points on the board. So I would say that's it.
Okay, so you say I appreciate you saying it comes down to quarterback play because, like you said, they got Jalen Waddle and Cheetah. You know what I mean? I feel like any quarterback could really just do work on that squad.
Dangerous receiving tandem in the history of the NFL.
I let him say it because he did say it first. And that's his statement. So, Freddie, what are your expectations of Tua? Because we did see a couple of concussions last season. So, I mean, that's a little bit tricky because now I'm thinking, well, damn, can Tua get the job done? There's a guy named Lamar Jackson on the Ravens who, very well could get the job done, and that'd be a very stacked squad. Yeah. So, I mean, what's your expectation of Tua?
He was concussed all the way through the Pro Bowl, which is crazy. I'm not even sure what his status is right now, but the Pro Bowl was long after his season was over. So I'm praying by training camp, he's back to full health. He's getting evaluated and everything. You talking NFL, they got the best medics and everything, best medical groups, and hopefully he gets taken care of. If he can stay upright and healthy, I think he'll have another great year. Like his numbers last year were pretty dang good. I mean, I think it's 22 touchdowns, about 8 picks, the highest quarterback rating in the NFL. Their offense is one of the best passing attacks in the NFL last year. And it starts with those two receivers. You can throw a slant, that's a 70-yard touchdown, right? You got Waddle on one side, you got Treek on the other side. Now, I am interested to see what happens with, because they lost Gesicki. And Gesicki is a great security blanket. They lost him to, I think, the New England Patriots, maybe. They brought in the Salbert guy, and I'm probably butchering his name, from the Denver Broncos. So he's a better blocker, but I don't know if he's a better route runner and receiving tight end is Gesicki, because I like Gesicki a lot. I think Miami will be fine offensively regardless. You got Mostert still. Hopefully they resign him coming out of the backfield. Their whole entire offense pretty much runs a 4-3. So as long as you can stay upright in that pocket, Tua gets the ball out quick, he's going to be fine, okay? There's not going to be too many cornerbacks that can jam Waddle or Tariq. So their offense would be amazing. I just think it's, as Byron was talking about, it's going to come down to that defense. Their defense last year didn't take the ball away from anybody, right? Their pass defense couldn't stop anybody. So you bring in Jalen Ramsey, and hopefully that defense can make it to where they get up early, the offense get them up early, the defense get enough stops, and now you can rely on your run game so that Tua doesn't have to sit back there and pass the ball 40 times. So if he stays healthy, man, they're a threat. I think it'll be them, the Chiefs, the Bengals, who just got a great offensive lineman, and then
Orlando Brown,
New York Jets once they get that bad man.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. I mean that's a tough little situation right there. Chiefs, Jets, Dolphins, playoffs. I'm liking it.
Notice nobody said the Bills.
Well, I mean, I'm not. I don't know what to tell you. I feel like last year was their best shot, and they just couldn't get it over the hump. I'm not saying. Yeah, I'm not saying tear it down, but maybe let it go.
I think with the Bills, I don't want to hop off topic. The Dolphins will be a top 3 team in the AFC East or in the AFC period. They'll be a top 3 team. There's no reason why they shouldn't be. I think it'll be if the Jets get A-Rod, then you can see how Aaron Rodgers and if Odell goes there and some pieces kind of fall into play, how the Jets will look, because the Jets actually are a very good team. You look at their makeup last year, their turn ratio last year, their time of possession last year.
I'm about to say, let's not go too deep on that. That is another subject. That is another topic. But yeah,
I'm bringing controversy early.
We're gonna go to the next one. Yeah, no, he was. That's what I was saying. Let's save this. Let's go to the next one. which is, and fellas, let's do this right. Let's do this proper, please. Ladies and gentlemen, round of applause for the Carolina Panthers because we're number one pick, ladies and gentlemen. That's right. Talk to me.
Let me y'all had a trash season last
Yeah,
year.
only
Who was it that trash?
NFL gets the worst teams.
Like,
Y'all was a
So
trash.
look.
Let me not say that. Y'all trash
look.
for not hiring Wilk.
oh yeah, no, I like Steve Wilkes. Look, I'm a fan of Buddy. I thought we should have brought him back, especially when you think about it. I thought we were going to be in contention for the number one pick the right way by losing, and then we get to the playoffs, and that's after letting go of Baker Mayfield. I'm just like, this guy knows what he's doing. Like, let's keep him. We have to. He's better than the organization. But I do want to say this though, fellas. Usually when we get the top pick, right, a small sample size, 2 times, and it's not really the top pick because Julius Peppers was number 2, but we do at least get a postseason berth at least 3 times, and then a Super Bowl appearance. So I'm looking at this pick like we need that from this player, and my candidates are Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud, Will Anderson Jr., and Anthony Richards. Now, do y'all have any other person to add to that list before we talk about them? Okay, got you. So, like, out of that list, who would y'all be most intrigued to like take at number 1? Freddie, we'll start with you.
It's between C.J. Stroud and what's my guy name from Florida, the big super freak.
Anthony Richards.
Anthony Richards, thank you. Between those two.
Richardson, I'm sorry.
Huh?
Anthony Richardson, I'm sorry. I said Richardson.
Yep.
Richardson.
I would say C.J. Stroud. And Anthony Richardson has shown some, especially at the combine and everything, shows some. But I think the certainty you have in C.J. Stroud, along with his physical 6'3" posture and what he's able to do, leadership, is good for Carolina. Anthony Richardson, I feel like, will come out immediately and be kind of like how old boy is in Chicago, right? They'll do more so of that for him in the first year just to build the confidence up, right? Cater the offense to more of a college style, right? Open it up a bit for him to use his legs when he can. And but with C.J. Stroud, I think C.J. Stroud can immediately come in and play extremely effective football to where you don't have to do as many gimmicks and whatnot. And for y'all who have some good pieces in place already as far as run game goes, because y'all traded away y'all best receiver and all that.
Hey,
but
yeah.
I think C.J. Stroud can make y'all pretty impressive right now in the NFC South without needing too much around him.
So, like, I understand why you say gimmicks versus, like, plug and play right now. I'm just thinking, again, as a Panthers fan, in 2002, we had Julius Peppers. In 2011, we got Cam Newton. So we got 9 years to work with Buddy. That's what I'm assuming. Like, all right, like that's my expectations. I don't know if CJ gonna give me 9 good years, chat. Like, I don't feel confident in CJ like that. Like, it's just something about, like, maybe it's Ohio State quarterbacks I ain't really too keen on. I know he had good weapons out there, so maybe that inflated his numbers. I also could say the same thing for, Anthony Richardson at Florida. They didn't really do too well. Like, I think of NFL end of day as who's that physical freak of nature? Like Cam, Julius Peppers, those two were, and it helped them out. It helped Cam out with any shortcomings he had in the throwing game. And I think, like you said, Fred, you can implement some gimmicks to kind of hide some things too, and you can also develop as a player too. Byron, what's your thoughts on that? Because again, I'm coming from.
Okay.
No, what were you about to say, Freddie?
I was gonna say I just don't think you have enough offensive weapons to even like scheme around him right now. For C.J. Stroud, I don't think you need weapons. And this may not be as great as an example to use, but think about like who's my man at for the Jacksonville Jaguars? His second year this year, Trevor Lawrence. I mean, yeah, Christian Kirk, right? Cool, and Jones Jr. But those guys aren't all-world receivers. We've seen him be able to develop with those guys. Didn't need the superstar wide receivers. And then to a lesser degree, talk about Burrow. He had Jamar Chase, don't get me wrong. But that team was nothing. Burrow gets there and makes them look like a whole entire complete different team. Again, I get Jamar Chase was there. So that's why I said to a lesser degree. But I think Stroud could come in there, could immediately make y'all a competitive team night in, night out without needing much else on the team.
I hear that. My issue is I just feel like Buddy has he has like the lower ceiling out of everybody on the list. And I think with Richardson, I might take the gamble that first year. I don't expect us to go to the playoffs next year. I really don't. Like, hey, throw out whoever you want to on the field. Let's see who works with Buddy, and let's start building from there. I don't know, Byron. You're an actual like football coach though, so give me your insight, give me your expertise. What would you be looking for from the number one pick for us? Like, who should we be looking at?
Yeah, I would say it's tough, man. I personally like Stroud. Normally I'm bringing controversy, and I like Stroud or Bryce Young. I'm gonna tell you why real quick. With Bryce Young, and I'll go back to Stroud. Bryce Young has the consistency factor. He's been around talented receivers. I get it. He's been in a system to where he can be successful. He's a little undersized, but I think his intuitiveness and his ability to understand the game of football will help him be successful immediately, and that he doesn't rely too much on his legs. He more uses his legs as a weapon versus as a resource. It's similar to a big in NBA who can shoot the ball, but doesn't predicate his game on shooting the ball. It's just a weapon. And I think
Mahomes.
Yeah, Mahomes. Right, Mahomes, perfect example. Even a Joe Burrow, perfect example. Aaron Rodgers, perfect example.
Aaron Rodgers, yeah.
Is there a same issue with like Kyler Murray? Because again, we're thinking about the height. I know Russell Wilson was a good success, but then you also had a good team around him, good defense. We got a good defense, but we don't got the defense Seahawks had. Like, is that a fair comparison? Or
Russell a big guy too. Russell is not small. He's just shorter, but
yeah,
Russell
he's short. I would say Bryce Young reminds me of Drew Brees more than Russell Wilson. Because to me personally, just watching, I watched a lot of Alabama games. I think he has the arm strength and the talent and the accuracy. I'm not saying Russell Wilson doesn't, but Bryce Young puts that thing on the money. And he's not a big guy. He uses his legs when he needs to. I don't know how. I think if you want immediate success, I think Bryce Young will give you the immediate success because he's been in a system and playing against the top competition over and over and has excelled. However, I personally like Stroud. I don't know. I was on the show a couple months ago where we had talked about, I think, draft stock. I think we talked about that a while ago, and I had mentioned how Pro Football Focus had mentioned how Stroud's draft stock was going down because he was one of the worst quarterbacks percentage-wise under pressure, like accuracy, turnover ratio, and things like that. It was a while ago, and I think one thing that I have read an article on, and you watch the Ohio State versus Georgia game, you see Stroud kind of get let off the leash. Reports came out that the head coach let him run. They didn't let him be mobile until the playoffs, the college football playoffs. And you look at his accuracy. I personally love Stroud. I think Stroud has the best arm talent. He has the most passing savviness in this draft. The guy from Florida, I watched a couple of his games. I don't want to put all of the failure on him. I do like the guy from Kentucky as well. I forgot his name.
Will.
Yeah, I like him as well. I think he could play. So I wouldn't draft Richardson too early. Personally, for me, I think if the Panthers do that, they're quote unquote looking for another Cam, if you will. I would probably go the more traditional pocket passer route who can move in Stroud. So I think that's more successful in the NFL than a mobile guy. I love being able to run. I mean, I play Madden. I like being able to move. But if you look at traditionally, those guys who can sit in that pocket and throw that football are mostly the most successful QBs, or have the ability to run and just choose not to.
And Trey, can I ask Byron a quick question? I didn't want to cut him off. I want to let him finish what he was saying. Regarding Bryce Young, I know you kind of brought up the whole like Drew Brees comparison. With a team like the Panthers, you ain't worried. Are you worried about a quarterback, like you said, about 5'11", maybe, right? 5'11", having 10-step dropbacks with an offensive line like the Panthers. Their line's shown to be good at times, but there's also times where their line had Baker running for his life, right? Darnold at times. Do you worry about that with a quarterback like Bryce Young, who needs to take – he's going to need 10-step drop back in the NFL with those defensive linemen that are 4'3", 40. Do you worry about that at all, or do you think he's a guy who's smart enough to be able to kind of maneuver even with having to deal with that, the speed at the NFL level?
Yeah, I would say am I worried? Yes. Yeah. In short, yes, just because those drops are longer. He'll have to be in the gun more, just to be honest with you. Like, he'll have to be in the gun more to get a pre-snap, post-snap read. His pre-snap read will be because he can look at the field. Post-snap, it's going to be guys coming at him, so he has to make quick decisions. That's why I do like Bryce Young, because at Alabama, if you watch his tape, he made a lot of quick decisions with, you know, bigger linemen. Yeah, Alabama's Alabama. They had the front line. They had the front, they had the front five or the front seven to kind of protect
receivers.
Yeah, then they have receivers. So it's tough. That's the one thing about drafting a quarterback number one overall. You look at Justin Fields. People give him so much negative remarks, if you will. I'm gonna be political. They give him negative remarks. I'm not gonna curse. It's not really his fault. I can't even name a receiver on the Bears, let alone offensive lineman. And one of my friends who I know plays offensive lineman for the Bears, Sam Mustafa. He's a friend of mine. So when you look at their front, when you look at their offensive line, you can't really put so much of his mistakes and errors on him, because he's got to make decisions way faster than the average QB.
Right.
And it is a concern of mine. It is a very strong concern of like how, personally for me, if I'm the GM, I'm drafting QB, I'm letting him get some playing time. But if the offensive line is bad and he's sitting down, and then we're gonna load up. So either A, we draft the QB in the first round, and the next rounds we're drafting offensive linemen, or it's gonna be a long year. So it's a concern unless the Panthers address it by at least drafting a tackle, a left tackle, and a right guard. The left tackle is the one that's your pass protection, and your right guard is your run heavy focus. You gotta have that balance. So I would do that. So it's a concern unless they address it.
All right.
Okay. Let me ask y'all this real quick. Y'all both got no more than 30 seconds. Because, I did give another name, and we ain't really talked about him. I'm just giving my man a shout out. Will Anderson Jr. out of Alabama. 6'4" linebacker, about 260, run about a 4.65. Why should we not take him at number one? Because I think, like, floor-wise, he'll be an above-average defender. Like, that's worst case. And I think Anthony Richardson, to y'all credit, he is a little risky. CJ, I want to impress on. Y'all talk to me. Maybe I need to look more into him. And then Bryce, I just thought Buddy was a little too small. So it's like, there's no case for Will at number one.
A linebacker for y'all?
Yeah.
Hell no. He's not going to change the fortune of y'all franchise around, bro. It's not Luke Kuechly coming in at the time he came, man. Y'all need a quarterback, brother. Okay. Y'all need a franchise change of quarterback.
Yeah, I don't have anything to say to that. I agree with Freddie wholeheartedly. You need a guy that can put points on that board and control the ball. I'm sorry. A linebacker I love, but nah, not right now.
Yeah, one more thing, bro. The NFC South has no quarterback that's gonna hang 40 on you. So y'all gonna be in every game. So you need a guy that can close those games out for you.
I'm just saying, fellas, we could also look at defense this year because we got a brother by the name of Caleb Williams out of USC who might be coming to us. I'm just saying we can look at him too. That's all. I might be biased. I'm a Trojan fan. Yeah. I mean, second round is tough. That's so tough. All right. I mean, I guess. Speaking of QBs though, Aaron Rodgers, he Jets. Like Aaron Rodgers is Jet from the Packers. Well, potentially, because it's not really set in stone, Freddie. So you might be able to keep your mans on your Packers. Because, well, if I'm the Packers, do I trade them? Is that cap space like is it going to hit my cap, that $40 million? And I think if you trade them before June 1st, it does, or something like that. Like, or maybe I misread that. How do y'all look at this Aaron Rodgers situation? Do you believe he will get traded? Because it's not as set in stone as I thought it was initially. Byron, we'll start with you.
Yeah. I'll be real brief because if Freddie is a Packers fan, I'll let him comment. Best of luck next year if you are a Packers fan. And even if you keep A-Rod or not keep A-Rod, best of luck. I would say he does get traded. He has caused. I know we talked about this before about him being a leader, and that he has caused so many problems, so much turmoil within the locker room, within the NFL, with lying about the COVID and all types of stuff like that. I think he's gone. I think he needs to change the scenery. I'm not saying he's a bad dude. I think he needs to change the scenery immediately. Does he go to the Jets? That's where he wants to go, but I mean, there's no telling that he does. So I think he gets traded because I think the Packers organization is kind of over him, and they should have moved on last year from him with his whole facade or his whole theatric with it. But it is what it is. I think he's gone. Long story short, I think he's gone.
Okay, Freddie. One, do you think he's gone? But the real question to you is, if he does go, what would you like back in return? Like, what is A-Rod's real value? Because Buddy did just say retirement was on the board. So, I mean, I got to think maybe he's not going to be around that long, too, on the football field. What would you like for him?
All right, well, before I even answer that, can we get this dude some credit for this? Nobody's talking about this. AR is a great friend because he gave him a list of all his homeboys who were pretty much about to be out the league. He said, before I come over here, I want y'all to pay my boys. Give my boy a check real quick here. Give my boy a check. I respect that. I just wanted to put that out there. Nobody talked about that, but he getting his boys paid. You got to respect somebody who can do that, right? But
I didn't think Alan Lazar was about to get kicked out of the league. That's breaking news.
I'm talking about Cobb and Mercedes Lewis. No, I'm talking about his OGs. But yeah, Alan Lazar was specifically for him as well. But Cobb and Mercedes Lewis were going to be off the league probably. But anywho, to answer your question, he's not playing for the Packers again. We're going to be stuck with Jordan Love, who was a mid-major quarterback who was mediocre at a mid-major, pretty much 500 quarterback. So this time has been come. They've been trying to hold on to AR and dealing with this nonsense because they realize, okay, we got this guy who's just another guy, right? Now, hopefully, he's been studying and he has a lot more to show for the Packers because at this point they got to go in there and play with him, right? I think they're going to be a super run heavy team even more so than they were this past year. Now, as far as AR coming to the Jets, he's not retiring because he's supposed to get like $60 million. You're not walking away from $60 million. I don't care who you are. Even if you know what I'm saying? Even if you kind of just lollygag, you're not walking away from $60 million.
Right.
So he's playing. It's weird because they've been going back and forth. I'm not sure what's the hold up. Like, is there one specific player that's kind of holding this thing up? I think it's going to be heavily based around picks, right? And then possibly some no-name players, right?
You don't want to mortgage the future too much because of the risk that Aaron Rodgers might retire. So you don't necessarily, if you're the Jets, you don't want to give up a first potentially.
There's the flip side to that. The Jets haven't had success ability at quarterback, even when they had Mark Sanchez, who actually did them some good. that wasn't even really stability. That was Rex Ryan's defense causing hell, wreaking havoc. That was Darrell Revis shutting down the whole side of the field, right? Only allowing 25 yards per game. Was that 09? Like, that's the defense, right? Those guys. With Aaron Rodgers, he immediately puts you in playoff and Super Bowl contention based on how great your defense already is. So I think they're just saying, no, we're going to go all out, and we're going to go ahead and get this quarterback who, although he did just have a down year with a hurt thumb or whatever you want to call it, down year, let's call it that. Prior to that, he had 2 back-to-back MVP seasons. So I don't think you can fall off a cliff that quick, right? I mean, he had receivers who were dropping wide open passes, couldn't create separation on possession. Like, you know what I'm saying? And now you have a defense who, although you don't take the ball away, they can get you the ball back. They're free and out every time. The top defense as far as yards allowed in, points allowed per game. I think they're going to be a super threat, and I think they're selling out to get him. Whatever they got to get him, they're going to make it happen.
Right, now, let me ask you this, Byron, because I saw your face cringe a little bit. And look, Freddie, just full disclosure, this is the same man that said that Dak Prescott is a better leader than Aaron Rodgers. So my question, Byron, is this. Do you believe, and I'm glad y'all boys is on this show now, do you believe that Aaron Rodgers can lead this Jets team to the promised land? Because Freddie just said he can get you to the contention, and you said,
yeah, I mean, here it comes. Absolutely not. Listen here, Aaron Rodgers hasn't seen a Super Bowl since the early mid 2000s. What,
2011.
2011.
It's been 12 years, 11, 12 years. He's even touched it, seen it.
I'm sure he watches the Super Bowl.
That's right. I got an answer for this. Don't worry.
Aaron Rodgers has played in one of the weakest divisions in the NFL. Period. The Detroit Lions and the Chicago Bears are in this division. And then you got the Minnesota Vikings, who can never get over the hump. Ever.
Right.
It's just like the Cowboys. The Cowboys and the Packers are so similar as teams. They play these weak schedules, have these good records. When it comes time to play against the big boys, the big dogs, they lose. I've seen Aaron Rodgers not be able to score a touchdown against the 49ers. Now, granted, 49ers have a good defense, right? And I'm not going to predicate my premise based upon one example. However, Aaron Rodgers historically in the playoffs is very bad. Like, very bad.
Yeah.
So, for you to say that he puts them in contention, the AFC right now is way stronger than the NFC. Like, way stronger.
Yeah.
Way stronger. So, you think Aaron
I didn't even notice popcorn, my fault.
You think Aaron Rodgers can get through Chiefs, the Bengals, the Dolphins potentially? The Bills are still there. They're still there. Then you're gonna have the Ravens potentially, who's up there still. Then the Chargers. Broncos might be okay. We'll see what happens with them.
Right.
So that right there is 7 teams. And then you got Garoppolo, who is Aaron Rodgers' worst nightmare. He beats him damn near every time.
Dan Fran is Aaron Rodgers' worst nightmare. But my fault, I don't want to cut you off.
No, it's all good. So I'm not saying the Raiders are going to be good, but personally, I think the Jets will make the playoffs if Aaron Rodgers goes there. They will. They'll make the playoffs. How far they get, you got to get through Kansas City and Cincinnati. I mean, those are 2 teams that you have to get through, not including the other teams that are on the rise in AFC. I think it's going to be tough. I don't think it's going to be as easy as people think. Oh, Aaron Rodgers is here. Nah, I'm sorry, but that's all I got. He doesn't.
Hey, what's your dog?
All right,
he doesn't put you in contention. He put you in playoff contention, but not championship contention.
So, Byron, I want to start by saying, bro, if you said about Dak Prescott, all this falls on deaf ears, bro. Because if you said about Dak, and you got the audacity to say that AR played in a weak division, come on, man. A weak division? Come on, brother. Come on, man. this is the first year the NFC has been great. We never knocked Tom Brady because he was winning Super Bowls, but it matters how you win as well. Tom Brady's been in the AFC East, which was trash for years. Yeah. He had a bye every single playoff guaranteed bye. Like there's other teams, other players that played in weak division. The Cowboys have, and there has been a consistent NFC East division champion since Dak's been there, right? Like so. I mean, there's quarterbacks. Drew Brees, another example, right? Drew Brees is one of the most overrated quarterbacks to me. I don't want to go there, but so there's these situations there. For Aaron Rodgers, he wins 10 plus games every year, 13 games, right? So you talk about 3 teams. You got 6 divisional games every year. All right, I get you. Minnesota's usually the good team within our division. You got the Lions, you got the Bears, right? So you got about 4 wins guaranteed. But outside of that, you still got those other games where you got to go out there and play. And he, even against the super talented team, he wins. Now, his history, right, won Super Bowl 2010, right? From then, you got a bad loss to the Giants. Can't knock that, right? You lost to the Giants. But also, Eli beat Tom Brady twice in the Super Bowl. So, like, some of those losses are what they are. But early on, a lot of his losses were to the Seahawks, the Cardinals, who put up ridiculous numbers on them. Defense, it usually ended up in his defense not being able to get a stop. Even the bad game he had versus the Seahawks, onside kick failure, and then give up a bomb the first play pretty much of overtime. You've seen these plays where his defense couldn't make a play, as where you look at like a Tom Brady and his defense or kicker, somebody always makes a play. So he's been unfortunate for a stretch up until these past 4 years. San Fran dog walked him. Then they beat him. I mean, he lost to Tampa, which wasn't that great either. He could have ran in there for a touchdown, and we know how that goes. So he has had some failures in the playoffs. But I think when people say, "Oh, he's just failed year and year again," this isn't basketball. You know, it's two sides of the court of the field. Excuse me. He's put up 30 in a playoff game and got 40 dropped on him. What are you going to do? So I think he still has that in him. Is essentially what I'm saying. In fact, him with these Jets reminds me a lot of Tom Brady with the Buccaneers his first year. That Bucs team prior to Brady getting there was actually a better defensive team than people believe. But when you're starting off defensively on your own 30-yard line, because Jameis is throwing 30 picks, how is your defense going to look good, right? The numbers going to show you aren't that great. But now you get a quarterback who can control everything for you, control the clock, get you in and out of your sets, audible here, right? Know when to check down, know when to take advantage of 12 men running on the field, all that stuff. That changes how your team looks offensively, and I think that's all the Jets need. Now, I'm not saying they're going to go in there and beat the Chiefs because the Chiefs should still be the favorite, right? The Bengals, let's see what they continue to do. They got an offensive lineman to shore up their line even more. Like, I think the Jaguars are going to still be coming on strong. The Chargers, I really don't believe in. They can't stay healthy to save their life. So I think there's some space in there for the Jets to really compete. The veteran quarterback who now has that legit defense to get you off the field on third down. And now you have Breece Hall, who's young. He was coming on strong before getting hurt. And a quarterback now that can just control the game. He doesn't have to come in there and be that guy he can be Jimmy G. You don't got to come in there and pass for 300 yards a game. Great coaching. I think that the Jets are going to surprise a lot of teams this year.
Let me ask you guys this. Yeah. From because this, I'm hearing good points from both. I do think if the Jets acquire Aaron Rodgers, you immediately put them into contention mode, right? So, is he a strong candidate for MVP next year? I mean, you got Patrick Mahomes. He just lost Juju, so you're replacing your wide receivers. I mean, Freddie Stenarian, all right? Like you're replacing one of your better wide receivers now. You still got Travis Kelce, yeah, but I mean, you got a lot of you got a big target on your back yet again. So if you do the same thing or even better, like you can become MVP again. You got Jalen Hurts, who's hungry. Joe Burrow, but Aaron Rodgers at this stage of the game, is he a strong contender for MVP? And if so, what would be the main thing that he needs to do to win that award? Because there are a lot of other people out there with like a chip on their shoulder. Again, Josh Allen too. He's one of those players also. So I mean, it's a lot of names out there. Who do we go first for the last time? I think Byron.
Yeah. Well, I'll be quick anyway. So,
Go ahead, Freddie.
yeah, I think he'll be solely off of narrative, the way Brett Favre was back in the day when he became a Jet until he lost the sport game. Like it's narrative. I don't think he's gonna have a monster year. Like I said, I think he'll come in there, manage things, get them a bunch of wins, and his difference will be based on narrative, and they'll say, okay, he has a chance. I don't think he'll win it, but I think he has a chance.
Okay. Byron.
Yeah, I would say likewise. I'm not gonna be long either. He has a chance. He could play. The award is predicated on regular season, and that's where he excels at. So he doesn't excel in the playoffs.
Damn. Okay.
That's my comment.
Wow.
So if it's the regular season, of course, he'll be okay.
It's bad.
Oh, he excels in the regular season. He excels occasionally in the postseason too. I guess I'm gonna give him some credit. That's tough. Damn, Byron. That's
5 NFC Championship appearances. It's not too bad. Donovan McNabb-ish, right?
The thing is,
let's not throw other athletes in this thing. Then he gonna say he's a bum too. Let's not go there. Let's let Donovan be cool with the speech.
I actually like McNabb. The only thing that Freddie said that I had to disagree with is one thing, is that you said that Aaron Rodgers doesn't normally have a good defense. Historically, those Packer defenses are like top 5. And like historically, so that's the only thing that I can
Thinking of Tom Brady, he's had some. When he's had top 5, they've gotten super far. But their defense usually can't get off the field in the playoffs. But yeah, he's had some good defenses for sure. So I'm not gonna like last year. He had a pretty good defense. So I do agree with he's had some good defenses. They just don't show up when they need to. Sadly enough.
I'm weak. Okay, all right. Well, I mean that concluded. I mean all the topics we have. We do have some would you rather's if y'all got time. If not, that is cool. We can cut it off. You only got 2 would you rather's though. So are y'all good or no?
Yeah.
Bet. All right, cool. So we're gonna slide on down to the would you rather section now. How we usually do it is either player by player, team versus team, or fantasy based one. So right now we got player versus player. And ironically, we talked about both of them, one more so than the other. Aaron Rodgers, Orlando Brown. Who would have the more important signing? Because we just talked about A-Rod, right? Contender. I think Joe Burrow kind of needs some support, though. I think that's a huge signing, too, though. So, I mean, for you guys, who would y'all have as the more important signing? Again, the offensive tackle Orlando Brown or the QB and Aaron Rodgers? I know it might seem like QB, but I don't know. Sometimes you need that offensive tackle to kind of help out the QB too. So, yeah. Freddie, Byron, we'll start with you this time.
Yeah, give me Orlando Brown in this situation. Only in this situation, in this context, because the Bengals, they can't get over that hump because of their offensive line. So I think coming in, being able to protect Burrow, giving him more time, that could be scary. They got a lot of weapons. So give me Orlando Brown. In this context, I think he is exactly what the Bengals need right now.
Freddie, do you feel the same way or you feel differently? You rocking with your guy?
Oh, I do feel differently, but I get exactly where he's coming from. I completely respect that. I say Aaron Rodgers for 2 reasons. One, like the Bengals kind of tried to approach that last year, went out and got 2 offensive linemen, and it seemed like they still had the same offensive line problem, which is weird. But and mind you, they still made it pretty far. They were still one of the best teams in the league. So I think with Aaron Rodgers' case, the Jets go from a technically non-playoff-ish team to now they're in a discussion for, you could be a top 4 team, right? So I think it just helps them cover a lot more ground than what Orlando Brown's going to do for the Bengals. Although, I mean, the point he made is absolutely spot on.
Yeah. I kind of feel I kind of side more so with Byron from the stance of I understand what A-Rod brings to my table. But like you said, too, though, I know I've gotten pretty damn far with a shaky O-line. If I add this brother here, sky should be the limit. Like that. I don't know what to tell you. Like I'm gonna have Burrow with a lot of time to throw. That should be top quality. So I'm expecting now Super Bowl winning. Like that's now my expectation over the next 4 weeks. Over the next 4 years.
I don't want to backtrack, Trey. I may slightly agree with y'all. Orlando Brown just came over from the Chiefs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I may backtrack for that simple fact. You take him away from the competitor and bring him to work with you. That's actually a pretty huge deal.
I wonder why the Chiefs let him go too. Because you're protecting Patrick Mahomes. You made a nice 10-year investment in him. I would think if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So that's I'm curious about that. But
I heard he turned down a larger deal from the Chiefs. You know, and signed with the Bengals, which I guess it was last year he turned it down. Oh, it's crazy. I would have took that money though.
Fact. But we're not as talented as them, unfortunately, or else we might be making a few different moves. Speaking of talent, though, I think this brother is fairly talented, and this is more so a team versus team one. Okay, we got Stephon Diggs. Should he leave the Bills and try to go to the Cowboys and win one with his brother? I understand they did just acquire Brandon Cooks. But, hey, if you can get Stephon Diggs, I ain't mad at that decision. And, again, his brother is pretty talented, too. So, Freddie, if you're Stephon, which one would you go with, Cowboys or Bills?
I think Cowboys simply because I think the Bills, and if I mentioned it earlier, I think they're plummeting right now. The Cowboys got a ton of talent out there offensively. So as long as Stephon Diggs is fine with not getting 120 receptions a year, I'll say the Cowboys. But
yeah. Okay. Byron, I'm assuming you share the same sentiment?
Yeah,
So then my question is this: what would you give up for Stephon Diggs if you're the Bills? What are you asking from the Cowboys?
Give me a second and a fourth.
That's it.
That's a lot.
Well, that's a lot. That's a lot. A second and a fourth is a lot. Historically speaking, a second round pick is a starter in the NFL, and a fourth round is a solid starter / fill-in. Historically speaking, I think Diggs is one of my favorite receivers.
You're talking about arguably the best wide receiver in the game.
Yeah, he's definitely top 3, top 5, 100%. Route running, ability to catch the ball, make plays. So personally, I don't think the Bills move on from him. I seen his frustration last year, and I totally get it. I think if he were to go to the Cowboys, a second and a fourth is probably ideal. They won't give up a second and third, but a second and fourth is probably ideal. I'm not thrilled on Dak, though. I think Josh Allen is a better quarterback than Dak Prescott. I do think that. I don't know what it is with Dak, and I know it's not a Dak topic, but I think having another premier weapon and CeeDee Lamb and Diggs on the same team could be scary. That could be scary. So I think any quarterback should be able to succeed with those two on their team. So I would say that would be
Okay. CD and Stephon versus Jalen and Cheetah. Which duo is better?
CD and Steph. Wait, that was CD and Stephon versus Jalen and Cheetah?
Yeah.
Yo, all right. That would be an epic matchup. It makes me think of, this is mad random. There's a photo of Terrell Owens and Chad Ochocinco on the Bengals lined up opposite of Darrell Reeves and Antonio Cromartie, which to me is one of the greatest. If they were all in their prime, and more so their two receivers in that matchup would have been crazy. So just thinking about that matchup, let's say this year, I don't know what schedules look like, but I don't know if they play. That would be fun to watch for sure.
It would be electrifying, I will say that. Yeah. It would be a Super Bowl game.
Trayvon Diggs and Stephon Gilmore versus Stephon and versus Cheetah. Excuse me, Cheetah and who?
Cheetah and Jalen Waddle.
Jalen Waddle. Yeah, that'll be.
But think about it like this way though. Even so, when you look at it, if that is the case, you got CD and Stephon versus Ramsey and Xavier Howard as well.
That's what I'm saying. It's both ways. Like it's both ways.
So offensively, you got to show.
And then you got questionable quarterbacks.
He says, "Oh."
That's true. It's true. Yeah, speed kills, but speed kills, man. I think that route, that's tough. I don't know.
I'm not saying because hey, CD has some wheels on him too now.
Yeah, you got
that brother can move the
CD's leaping ability and like, oh my God.
But Cheetah is just like he on. Yeah, maybe Dolphins versus Cowboys might be the game to watch.
Both ways, yeah.
Yeah, that'd be
cornerbacks versus receiver matchups both ways,
yeah. That'd be
tough. That'd be tough. But fellas, that's all the time we had. I thought of asking, who would y'all rather have lead your team, Dak Prescott or Aaron Rodgers? But I'm not gonna do that to y'all.
See what happened last time they matched up in the playoffs. See what happened last time. We ain't gotta talk about it though. Byron a good man. We ain't gotta talk about it.
At the end of the day, I'm not a Dak fan regardless. Aaron Rodgers
can't look like him. That's okay. I feel you. Fellas, I greatly appreciate y'all on the show. We definitely got to do this again. Do you guys have anything you want to say before we close up shop?
No, man. See you later, right?
Yeah, I would say, man, definitely looking forward to playoffs, NBA playoffs, how they kind of unfold themselves last week. So we'll kind of see how that kind of plays off.
MVP race.
Yeah, MVP race. So I'll kind of talk about that. So I'm looking forward to that next conversation. Good one, man.
Definitely. Yeah, no, we will definitely get all that covered. So, ladies and gentlemen, hope you all stay tuned. And till next time, take care.
I did not know you guys were still here. As you can see, we're at the back end of the show. No pun intended, but look, hope you all enjoyed it. And before you go, please subscribe to the YouTube channel, follow the IG account, share the content to anybody who's anybody. And most importantly, leave your thoughts and comments below. But I got to go back and play Buddy in 2K, so let me unmute him real quick. Excuse me. Hey, boss, I'm back. Nah, you better catch this word. You know we get buckets around here, too.